Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into a world that honestly can strike fear into even the most brilliant minds out there. The high-stakes gauntlet of top-tier academic publishing. Seriously, if you've ever stared blankly at a rejection letter and wondered just how on earth to crack those prestigious Q1 or Q2 journals, you are absolutely in the right place. Today, we're going to decode the unwritten rules of this whole ecosystem.
So let's kick things off with a question that pretty much haunts every researcher at some point. Why do technically correct papers still get rejected? You know the scenario. You spend months running absolutely flawless experiments, the math is spot on, the code is totally bug-free, and yet, boom, rejection. Why? Well, it's because mere technical correctness just isn't enough to pass the gatekeepers anymore. Editors are looking for something much, much deeper.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our survival roadmap for today. We're going to start with the publication ecosystem, break down the anatomy of a paper, navigate ethics and journal selection, and finally conquer surviving peer review.
Section 1. The publication ecosystem. Let's look at what these gatekeepers actually want.
Before you even write a single word, you have to realize that every successful paper must undeniably answer 4 rapid-fire questions right out of the gate. What problem was studied? Why is it important? How is it investigated? And, crucially, what new knowledge was discovered? Editors literally use these as a ruthless initial filter to gauge your original scientific significance. If your research doesn't explicitly answer these right away, it's just not going to survive.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what I mean. Take a look at this comparison. On one hand, you have a weak, instantly forgettable novelty claim, applying a well-known CNN model to a commonly used dataset. Yawn, right? But then compare that to the strong novelty claim, developing a hybrid explainable deep learning framework for early cervical cancer diagnosis in low-resource healthcare settings. One of those is an instant rejection, while the other introduces a specific, highly relevant method with a critical real-world application. That's the stuff gatekeepers actually care about.
All right, Section 2, Anatomy of a Paper. It's time to actually build the manuscript.
First things first, banish the idea of the terrifying blank page. Top-tier academic writing isn't about waiting for a muse, it's about a repeatable formula. And that foundational formula is IMRAD: Introduction, Methods, Results, and Discussion. This is the universal blueprint expected by pretty much all major journals. Once you internalize this, it dictates exactly where every single piece of your research belongs. Now, think of your title as your ultimate first impression. A poor, generic title like Machine Learning for Healthcare is just, well, it's completely forgettable. Editors see hundreds of those. But an optimized title, like an explainable deep learning framework for early cervical cancer detection using colposcopy images, acts as a massive hook. It's packed with keywords and tells the editor exactly what you've achieved before they even read the abstract. When you get to your introduction, you really want to use a funnel approach. Don't just lazily list off statistics, saying things like, Study A achieved 90%, Study B achieved 92%. It's boring. Instead, synthesize the literature to find the gap. Say something like, yes, previous studies were highly accurate, but they lacked explainability, limiting clinical deployment. That but is absolutely crucial. It's your golden ticket to proving why your specific research actually matters.
Okay, so once you hit the results section, the whole tone shifts. It has to be strictly 100% objective. Clean, direct data presentation is key here. Notice that you aren't interpreting anything at this stage. You're just laying out the cold, hard facts, like showing how your proposed model outperformed the baselines. Save the why this happened and all the context for the discussion section that comes next.
Moving on to Section 3, Ethics and Journal Selection. You've got a draft, now let's find it a home.
Now, let's be incredibly clear about the rules of the game here. The Committee on Publication Ethics, or COPE, sets non-negotiable boundaries. Avoid plagiarism, never ever fabricate data, absolutely no duplicate submissions, and only include genuine contributors. Actually, scratch that. It's not just a boundary, it's a cliff. Violate these, and you literally risk permanent exile from the academic ecosystem. It's just not worth it.
So, keeping that in mind, how do you actually pick the right journal? Well, follow a logical progression. Step 1, check the scope fit. Step 2, verify their indexing in reputable databases like Scopus or Web of Science. Step 3, check their impact factor and aim for those Q1 or Q2 spots. And Step 4, Absolutely dodge predatory journals. If a journal is spamming your inbox promising a 3-day review turnaround for a hefty fee, run the other way.
Here's a really powerful little metric for you: 60 to 80%. That is the chunk of your references that ideally should come from just the last 5 years. It proves to editors that your work is genuinely on the cutting edge. And please do yourself a massive favor and use a reference manager like Zotero or Mendeley to save yourself from formatting nightmares later on.
And now we've arrived at the final, most intimidating phase. Section 4, Surviving Peer Review. Let's tackle the gauntlet.
Let's move to this timeline and see how this builds. This is the harrowing journey your paper actually takes, from day 1 submission to editorial screening, and then into the months-long black box of peer review. If you survive that, you hit revisions around month 4, and finally, hopefully, acceptance in month 5 or beyond. It is a marathon, guys. Manage your expectations accordingly.
So what usually derails a paper on this timeline? It's the usual suspects. Lack of novelty, poor methodology, a weak lit review, insufficient data, poor English, statistical errors, scope mismatch, or those ethical concerns we talked about earlier. But the good news? Because you're treating your manuscript as an intentional, structured process now, your paper is going to easily sidestep these completely.
You are gonna get revision requests. It's a fact of life. So how do you appease the infamous reviewer 2? With aggressive compliance. Respond with something exactly like this. We thank the reviewer for this valuable suggestion. We have expanded the literature review by adding 15 recent studies published between 2023 and 2026. See that? It's respectful, it's highly structured, it's evidence-based, and it completely removes ego from the equation.
Which brings us right back to where we started. I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought. As you're preparing your manuscript, ask yourself this: is your research just technically sound, or is it a compelling story that editors literally can't ignore? Because successful academic publishing in the Q1 and Q2 gauntlet isn't just about flawless math or perfect code. It's that powerful combination of methodological rigor with brilliant scientific storytelling. Master the structure, prove your significance, and tell that story. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch